East Bay Insiders TV, Steve Tavares. It's election night and the results are in. And with me tonight live is some of the insiders. Lee Thomas on the top right, former council member from San Leandro and an Oakland insider. And then everybody knows the man, the legend, Sean Wilson, East Bay Insiders podcast co-host. Welcome all.
Hey, you know what, Steve? I'm really glad you informed the viewers that Lee was on the top right, because I know he and I get mistaken all the time for twins. So it's really good that you did that, man. And just in case there's any people watching that are like, is that Lee or is that Sean? Now we know. Thanks, Steve. That's the type of insight you provide.
We got insight. We got you guys seem juiced. I know Sean is because he's always gets excited when he predicts things. And let's get to it. The results are out, and Oakland special election. And in Oakland, Lauren Taylor is leading by just over 4 percentage points. In first place, votes over Barbara Lee, a tight race. What do you guys think? Sean, let's start with Sean, because you were the one, I don't know, weeks ago, straight up said Lauren Taylor's going to win this. And right now, nobody's won this, but it's looking like we got the contours now of what could happen.
Look, man, I'm not one to be braggadocious, but I will say that I did predict it. And like I know what's happening over at the Barbara Lee camp. She's like, woo, damn, that was close. Because I'd be like, woo, I was close. So yeah, look, man, I think for the first time in a long time, the city of Oakland and their voters got it right. They know that they need somebody that can, work hard, work for a long period of time, win re-election, and roll up their sleeves and just do what needs to be done to get that city back on track. And like I said, we had Lauren on our show a long time ago, and I was impressed by him then, and I'm impressed by his campaign now. And look, man, hats off to him. If this thing holds true and the numbers prevail and he's victorious, I think that Oakland is on the right track to becoming a better city than they've been in a long time. And I think the voters got it right, man. Lee, I'm going to kick it to you on the top right.
Thank you. I'm glad we can identify who's the good-looking brother on the stream here. So,
no, we just said you were Lee Thomas. We didn't.
Look, this thing holds up. I really believe the Oakland people have got it right for this last year and a half, or since the ousting of the former mayor there. They have needed somebody who can roll up their sleeves, and it is quite evident that Lauren Taylor has been rolling up his sleeves, boots on the ground, and really trying to make the connection with folks and show that he's ready to do the job. He's ready to get his feet wet, whatever he needs to do. And I think that, right, to me, that was the stark difference between both of these races, which is you had a candidate, Lauren, saying, I'm going to get in here and I'm going to do whatever it takes to rebuild Oakland. I'm going to put it all on the line here, versus a iconic, as one newspaper organization would say, politician who really came off more of like saying, you know what, I'll bring some people together and together collectively, I'll get them to help me do it. But it was quite evident that Lauren was saying, look, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do whatever I actually need myself to rise up and make Oakland rise again.
Yeah. Have you guys? What do you guys think of? Earlier we had Justin Burton on. He was talking about Barbara Lee made a lot of mistakes. It's a dumb question with why, but she's been in this business since the early 90s. What are some of your thoughts of why she was the one, the experienced one, was making so many errors, and not Lauren Taylor, who's been one campaign he won for the city council and one race for mayor that he almost won?
Well, look, Lee, let me jump in first, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you know this, Stephen, because when we had an after event after our live podcast, the first one in Oakland, he still had a campaign team. That dude had a campaign team since the time he lost his last mayoral race till now. He had a campaign team in place, like running a campaign even when he wasn't. So when the recall of Shane Tao was successful, he already had every infrastructure in place. He had a campaign team ready to go and mobilized. So that's one. And two, look, man, when you're in Congress and you're a shoo-in to win every year, every 2 years rather, like how many times do you really have to go out there and get challenged, right, by your electorate or a candidate from your electorate to get elected again? The answer to that is a challenger that is qualified is probably zero in her chance in her case. So the question is, yeah, she's been there for so long, but she's never had a challenger of this magnitude. So, when you don't have an infrastructure in place and you don't really know how to sort of re-engage, this is what happens. And I think that every time I saw that Lauren Taylor staff and their infrastructure, they were always just ready for this day. They were ready to say, "Hey, look, we lost that race. It hurt. We ain't gonna lose another one." And that's perseverance.
Yeah, I agree. So right now we're at, as I wrote in the newsletter this morning, where Taylor would want to be is just about here, because most of the people that we've seen that are in these results are people that voted early, and mostly, right, Sean, these are people who are older, probably had a little money, homeowners, and those are the people up in probably up in the Oakland Hills, those areas. So if he was to have a chance, this is the result I believed and others believed he needed to have at the very beginning, with the idea that as the electorate got a progressive city, right, and well-known opponent in Barbara Lee, that once the more of the count went through, that lead would shrink. And so do you think we're at like 4.1, I think, percent he's up, but he's almost up to 50%. If you get 50%, it's over. There's no ranked choice stuff, so he's close to that. But do you think this is enough? Is 4.1 enough at the starting post of a lead?
Yeah, I mean, look, Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously, as a candidate, which I've never been before, in a ranked choice voting atmosphere, which I fucking think is horrible, I would love to be at 50 plus, right? Because that end of day. But I think where he's sitting at now, it's a good pole position for him to be in during the duration of the campaign. But look, duration of the election results. But look, no one knows where these numbers are coming from. It's always like a crapshoot. But I'd be happier if I was in a higher position. But right now, I mean, he's ahead, and that speaks volumes, I think. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, no, I think for any candidate that's involved in a ranked choice situation, as soon as those polling numbers come out, all you hope is to be ahead. Doesn't matter 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. You just want to be ahead. And then from there, you are just hoping that the ranked choice catapults you to the finish line. And so I think Lauren's in a really good position right now. Once again, we don't know how the other folks who supported the candidates, how they voted in regards to Barbara Lee and Lauren Taylor here. But in regards to a ranked choice situation, especially someone speaking from experience, my second race here in San Leandro, I came out, several points behind. And even as I worked to catch up, and it looked like I was going to eventually maybe either come in at a tie or maybe even take a lead, the candidate having the lead with the ranked choice right out the gates maintained it and only won by just a few votes here. So I think Lauren's positioned very well here, unless there's going to be some kind of significant, turnout in regards to ballot counts that, that come in a little bit later on.
Yeah, and to add to that, at least on Monday, there was a breakdown by council districts of the turnout, when the turnout total at that time for the city was 19%, 18.9. And if you look at those numbers up in the hills, especially District 4, which was a Libby Schaaf's district, Sheng Tao's district, also the district that, and maybe they knew something 2022, recall that Lauren Taylor won in the mayor's race, won Sheng Tao's own council district. And so that same council district, if it was up on Monday at 31.5% turnout. That's way above the 19 for the whole city. And there was you saw that in other places that were closer to the hills, maybe the more affluent. So if that holds on, and on top of this 4-point lead, it looks very good for Lauren Taylor. But I want to get back to that campaign. Now it's in a position, right, where win or lose, it's a feather in all their caps. But I can tell you, like we talked about it with Kevin Jenkins on a podcast 2 podcasts ago. Their campaign consultant Trishala Vinakota, when that story comes out of what she went through and would come up with a victory, a monumental victory, it's a great story, and it's it's an underdog story across that whole campaign from Lauren Taylor. And so I know that they hopefully what if they're watching right now?
Well,
what should you say to them?
I'm gonna use this Rocky Balboa scenario, Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed, right? Apollo Creed had the name, right, in that first one, and no one, Rocky who, right? And now no one expected Rocky to go as many rounds as he actually did with Apollo, right? And I think I don't think the Barbara Lee campaign really expected Lauren to go deep in this campaign like he actually did. I think they underestimated this guy's, Sean, you mentioned it, this guy's grit and his determination by his entire team. And so I think, if this thing holds up, there's going to be a lot of people from on the Barbara Lee team to the unions to everyone that backed her is going to have to do some soul searching and realize that they're going to have to do some soul searching to realize their pulse that they thought they had on Oakland was not the pulse. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah. So a second,
I love the Apollo Creed reference with Rocky Balboa, and the difference. You hit the nail on the head. That is a great analogy. What you're missing is that Mick made Balboa go chase a chicken, and that's what they did in this race. They had him always chasing the chicken. He never stopped chasing the chicken. He always wanted to be the mayor, never stopped trying to be the mayor. He chased that chicken and caught it.
Yeah, you're right. But Sean, you're right. At our first East Bay Insider podcast recording in Oakland, when we had Lauren Taylor on, right? I was calling it. That's January 2024. That's a long time ago, man. And I was calling it, if you recall, I was teasing him, calling it the shadow government. So you're correct that Lauren Taylor had, it wasn't spring training for him when it was like the mayor's recalled, and he didn't have to warm up. He was already in opening day shape from the very beginning. And but I want to add to
it's like
what you're talking about the union. So for a second, we go to in District 2, and I'll talk about it through the lens of unions. So in District 2, that's the council race to take over the remaining 15 months, 16 months, 2 years of Nikki Fortunato Bass, who now works as a supervisor for the Board of Supervisors, Alameda County Board of Supervisors. And so that race is looking like a not close. Charlene Wong she's passed the majority right now, 52.13. But second place with 24% is a new unknown that's strongly backed by the same unions who are backing Barbara Lee, the same unions that back Shane Tao, Cara Murray Badal. Like, if this hangs on, if this goes as we see here at the first posting, that's two big expensive defeats for SEIU 10-1, the engineers, Local 21, California Nurses Association for a lot of money. That's 2 for 2, and on top of losing, or on top of getting putting all that money to get Sheng Tao to become the mayor, and then have her recalled. A lot of money, bunch of losses in a row. This is the big question that we need, a big storyline. What are the unions? These are the two most powerful unions, maybe in the whole area, definitely in Oakland. What are they going to do, man? This is not acceptable.
It only makes me think of one thing. Man. More money, more problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you got to keep your powder dry, man, when you know that you're not going to win a race like this. Sometimes you got to stay on the sidelines, and it's better to be an observer than to be, mixed into a race that you don't have. Look, I'm going to give you a great example. When you don't have a good feel for a campaign, right? You tell your candidate, your client, sometimes, hey, look, like, I wouldn't spend your own personal money on this. Like, I wouldn't, like, there's been times where you get a candidate that is like, look, I'm having a hard time raising money, but I want to spend another 10 grand. I'm just using arbitrary numbers. I want to spend 10 grand of my own money on mail. And you can say, yeah, because I get a cut on mail. Or you can say, nah, not a good idea because I don't got a feel for the race. Like, if a consultant and folks in the room don't have a feel for the race, you got to bail. And oftentimes that's hard to do. It's one of the most hardest things to actually do in a campaign is face a candidate and say, hey, this ain't going the way we thought. We got to pull. It's easier to just say, fuck it. I'm going to throw as much spaghetti against the wall, even though I know none of it's going to stick, and it doesn't stick. So it's tough.
Well, with us now, with us now is Mr. Dan the Man.
He's got a dog barking. He's got shit in the background. His hair looks good. His makeup looks flawless. Dan,
there's no dog barking.
Guy.
You guys notice I wore my camo since we're hunting for a new mayor in Oakland, so I wore my camo. and I got a little American flag there.
I want to elaborate a little on Sean's thing. I think, Steve, talking about the unions pumping in, the massive amounts of money here. I think for this campaign here, it was also very conflicted, right? You've got the star name, you got the star power name. And so you're like, we've got the star power name. We're going to put our money behind the star power name here. Yet at the same time, I think that it's like, oh, wait a minute. We have a certain agenda in regards to jobs. And we don't put this money behind this one particular candidate when we don't know where our agenda is going to be met in regards to raises and, employment and everything else. And so I think that is the gamble that we really saw here from the unions, is saying we're putting our money behind this one star power name, because we can't lose. And I think that's what they really thought, star name can't lose. At the same time saying, because we also think it's going to be easier for us to get our agenda met with this particular person as mayor.
Damn, Lee, I wish you wouldn't have said that, because I have a question for you. Like, I get what you just said, and I'm a union guy, son of union members.
Same here.
But you're a union guy too. But is that what we want? Like, is that what the city of Oakland needs? Is someone that we know is just going to foot the bill no matter the cost? Like, that to me is indicative of how they got into the problem in which they're in.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But I also think when you've got that union lens on, right? I served as president of United Administrators for 7 years, right? When you got that union lens on, it's really hard to take that lens off and focus on something else, because you've got a goal that you've got to try to achieve for your members, and you represent members, right? And so it's really hard to just kind of stay away from that, because you're trying to achieve something at the end. Now, I'm not saying that Barbara Lee, if she wins this thing, she's going to kowtow to all of the unions, right? But I do believe that it does create some favorable positions for them potentially in regards to meet some of the things that they're going to try to do for their members.
So Dan the Man.
Well, I appreciate that, but let me ask you this: when you get to a point where you have two qualified candidates, as a labor leader, don't you just say, hey, look, let me meet with Lauren Taylor and see if he's union friendly. Perhaps that I can get similar deals done with this guy. Or I guess why, maybe, or you just put your eggs in the other basket and go balls to the wall. To me, that's I got members that I need to respond to. I got members that I'm using their dues to do this with. I have a obligation to make sure that their best interest is in mind. My job as a political director of a union would be to say, hey, look, doesn't matter who wins, I think I can get a fair deal from either of these electeds for your next contract. Or do they just say, fuck it, we know based on history she's better for unions. I think this is very short-sighted, my own personal opinion. Again, a little short-sighted to say, hey, man, let's just put all our eggs in one basket when you have these union dues that are like, they're expensive. And you got union members that are like, hey, look, man, like, obviously, and I don't mean to be an a-hole, but if you look at the numbers, the union members, large portion of them, I think second to Hayward, reside in the city of Oakland. So they didn't believe in their own dollar value going to this election. If you want to do the numbers, right? I mean, as it stands now.
Yeah, well, I also think it comes down to your membership too, right? If you're going to the vote to your members saying, who do we want to put our money behind, depending on what your internal process is, and your members are saying we want to put it behind this person, and that's the way you're going. I'll use my own example. Sean, and you were with me with this when we ran for mayor here in San Leandro, right? There is no reason why, and that one particular union here should not have endorsed me in regards to what my record was, but because of their members, right? And their brotherhood and sisterhood within their union, they had to stand in alignment in regards to what one particular person was in regards to the union that he was affiliated with. And even though they knew that was a bad choice, because multiple conversations with folks, and they told me it was a bad choice, they had to just stay in alignment in regards to what their member base was, or the leaders of their union, and they had to just stand in alignment. I think that's what you see a little bit here.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of a jack off, actually. I mean, normally they don't get polled to that extent. But I'll tell you what, the worst thing about you not being the mayor of San Leandro, and I hate that race that we worked on together. The worst thing about you not being the mayor of San Leandro is now every time there's a state of the city, everyone feels like they're going to a cult.
This last one, he was better. Come on.
Okay, in the band, welcome.
How are you guys doing tonight? Hey, so catch me up. Where are we at? To be honest with you, I haven't looked at anything. So the way you guys are talking, it sounds like maybe, yeah, I haven't. I truly, I've been doing other things, but it's
55-45 Barber Lee.
55-45. Oh, all right.
Barber Lee.
Yeah. What are you doing, Dan? Maintenance, some self-maintenance?
You said, what am I doing right now?
Yeah, what were you doing? Self-maintenance earlier?
No, I had already, I had already promised my chica we'd go out to dinner tonight, so that prioritized the launch of East Bay Insiders TV.
Yeah, you should have brought her to Grill Q for dinner.
Well, you'll make me sit outside in that. Do you have the little outdoor cafe you got there? So maybe on Saturday it would have been better.
That's not the correct results, man. Actually, Lauren Taylor's up by like 4%.
Oh shit! Wow, that is.
I was just testing you. Because if you just read, it says Lauren leads Lee in tight race from OC.
Oh, down here at the bottom. I don't even.
Yeah.
I have my screen large. This is the first time I've used this, so my screen's large and my little ticker's kind of half in, half out. What? Oh, I see Mindy down there. Mindy's at 511.
Oh,
nice job, Mindy.
So let me ask you, talking about the union stuff. So if this holds, like, how is Lauren Taylor going to sit down? Hey, unions. Okay, well, we got a big problem here. We got $89 million shortfall and bigger one in the next budget. We got till June 30th to get it done. What are you going to do to help us out, unions? Or are they going to be like, nothing? We're going to keep doing the way we're doing. Or are they going to say, okay, we can do a thing like I've been saying. Most unions, when you got a problem in your city, you say we'll defer anything we were going to get for 2 years, and then when the city gets, it's a win-win, because then when the city's back on their feet, rightly so, you go and say the union saved our city, and they did, and then they get more at the end, right?
Yeah, but we talked a week or two ago. Well, I guess 2 weeks ago, we spoke that lately that hasn't been the case though. They've just been staying the course. Like, you guys figure out other places to cut. We're not going to be able to participate. Things are too expensive. Interest rates are up. Food's crazy. We can't defer. We need our increases. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates through that. Hopefully they work with him. But to your point, Sean, that you were making earlier, I don't know. You guys have been doing it way longer than I've been watching, but I sometimes feel that you've got a select few leaders within any of those groups, and they get behind their candidate, and then the members themselves, they just end up falling in line to whatever the leadership is following, and that was certainly the case here. I felt you saw that that a lot of them backed Barbara Lee because it was Barbara Lee, and I don't think they went out and polled the membership to see what the membership wanted to do, and I don't think that's pretty typical anyhow. So
it's so also on that line of thought. Go ahead. Go ahead,
no,
Sean Wilson.
Go.
Oh, so on that line of thought,
I was going to say, look.
Go ahead. So
fucking Wilson.
So it does look like the unions.
I want to know where Sean's at. Sean's a little dark right there.
Yeah, I know.
Can you pan the camera around a little bit? Let me see what's going on in there.
I can't. It'll fuck everything up. It'll drop. Yeah.
So measure A looks like it's going to win. It's got 63%.
Oh yeah, that I heard. I saw down here on the ticker. That thing's way in the lead.
Yeah, so that's going to be like an extra 20 million. That will help out the budget a little bit, but of course they don't get that money yet. But in the future, it's going to help out, and I mean that could be one. That could be a bargaining chip. The unions say like we don't need to do as much because look, voters just gave us a big chunk of change,
and they've got raise money coming down the pike at some point. They got all kind of money rolling in eventually.
Well, I tell you, if you're Barbara Lee or Lauren Taylor, that's a win right there. Coming into office is just having that alone, right? Because at least you're coming in with at least you're coming in with a little change in your pocket, right? And so
right,
that's a good thing. That's a real good thing for either one of these guys, whoever pulls it out tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Mayor Jenkins came on, Go ahead, Sean.
I was just gonna say that if I were the winner of mayor of Oakland, to me it doesn't matter if there's a sales tax that's passed or not. You have to get in a room with everyone, those that supported you and those that were against you, have a half-day retreat with a brown bag lunch or pizza and beer, and figure out how to work together for a common good of those residents in the city of Oakland.
Yep.
And it's going to call for every union leader to get there, every management association leader to get there, and you got to sit down and figure this shit out, because come next Monday, if there's a leadership change, either be it Barbara Lee or Lauren Taylor, y'all got to get on the same page and figure out what to do next to get this ship back on track. So it's going to take, like we said, a lot of work, but the unions have to, if they lose this, they have to come back and say, look, we got to work together. There's no squabbling over we supported you or not. As if Lauren Taylor wins, he can't be like pumping his chest saying, fuck you, I won. They got to all sit down and be like, look, let's figure this out, man. It takes a village, and we all part of this village. Let's move this city forward. And that's what needs to take place, no matter who wins this race.
Well, Sean, I think it's interesting you say that, because you can see both sides of the campaign talking about how we have to come together. We have to unite together. Barbara Lee talking about, bringing people together. you got one side saying that Lauren's not going to be able to bring people together. So whoever wins this, I think absolutely right. Someone's going to have to bring people together. And if I was in a position of how I'm going to have to work with these unions, what maybe the first goal is, what do we need to help your members for the first year? What does that percentage look like? And then can we come back in 2 years and then open up negotiations again? Do something. Maybe there's a one-time cash cash sum that we can give union members just to get them over the hump, for this year, and then we can come back and open up negotiations next year. So whoever's sitting at this helm, is between them and the council and everyone, they're going to have to get really creative in regards to, one, how you support union members, because union members are critical to helping the city of Oakland thrive. And then sitting here say, okay, what is the next step down the line to get ready to, to open negotiations? I think the hard part about this is you're going to have a mayor sitting in this seat for several months. And say, we don't even know if you're going to be mayor, the next time around, depending on, how this actually works. It's a little bit of a gamble, I think, for the unions, but you got to come together.
So do we know, Steve, do you have timing, when after tonight goes down, then when will the transition occur? Is there any timing on that yet?
Well, you'd have to. So what would happen is you have to wait till the registrar certifies, and he's got 30 days from today. But since it's only, a couple races, theoretically, you'd think it would be quicker than normal. So the timing is based on the registrar. And now today, a little breaking news is that one of the IEs that was supporting Lauren Taylor sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors and said that we urge you to make sure the registrar does this count in a transparent and expedited manner, and laying down all the other things that in the past he has not done. So the letter to me kind of looks like a line in the sand. So if there's some kind of thing going down, we just told you we're going to come and we're going to, file some sort of complaint lawsuit later. Of course, if this is the result.
Well, you had wrote, though, in a couple of newsletters ago, you had wrote that the registrar is out. So who's
I think he's
running
back.
The show in there right now? Oh, he's back.
He's back, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what the problem was. I think it was, as I said, it was not because of performance. So here as we wrap up, we haven't got a new. There's no new results, and we were supposed to get one every hour. It's more than an hour now, and then at the end of the night, we're supposed to get ranked choice tabulations. So it'll give us an idea in the mayor's race, who is that little sliver going to? I could tell you that third place person, Tyron Jordan, and he dropped out of the race after already, he didn't try anymore, and he was backing Barbara Lee. So those 702 votes, those second place, I would imagine, went to go to Barbara Lee. But these are little slivers. There are, of these 10 people right now, six candidates don't even have 1% of the vote. Yeah. It's amazing here. So it's going to be.
Well, Sean, remind me, I want to say at one point, didn't you say, Sean, that based on the low number of voters, that the first results that came out could stand? You still feel that same way?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident in that statement. Yeah. I mean, we don't think that it's going to jump significantly in terms of turnout. So what you're seeing now, it probably be a steady, maybe a little bit of an increase in numbers, but I don't think much. So that's what I said. I mean, to me, if I'm Lauren Taylor, I'm pretty happy where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
like I said before you got on, Dan, when you were in hair and makeup for a while, we said I would much prefer being at 50% or over due to ranked choice voting. But if I'm leading, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at break down the numbers of the turnout right now, these numbers include 44,796 votes. That is right now 17.86%.
Yeah.
That means unless everybody, bunch of people sent in their ballot like in the last 24 hours, there's not that many ballots out there. If you get to 90,000, you get 35%. So it doesn't look like we're going to get to 35%, maybe 30 at this pace, maybe 25. I heard some people talking about 25%. I don't know. That was the low end. So
well, one of you two need to text Lauren and tell him, hey, if he ends up winning, we get first crack. No KTVU first. You better be on East Bay Insiders first.
We got these fancy graphics, man.
Well, hey, Sean,
Yeah, look at you, man. You got you got it going on. I see these things scrolling at the bottom. I'm looking for the score of the Warriors game.
Oh, I can put that up.
Hey, Sean, I'd be interested as someone who's like ingrained in the county, with removal of Price, and Shane, and then the sheriff winning, a couple of years ago, potentially Lauren on the cusp of winning here. Are we just looking at a major shift in Alameda County politics?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One that I think is going to take a little time to sort of analyze. It's always good to look back at those numbers and see, where votes are coming from, where people are at, the ideology that may have shifted. But, obviously, people wanted a different sheriff. That was evident. No one saw that coming, not at least in the primary. People wanted a new DA for all the wrong reasons. Then they went, don't want that DA. Let's go back. So that kind of was that was a little different deal. But yeah, I think the fundamental way to look at ideology in a county like Alameda is on tax measures, not candidates, because candidates have a different political swing. Tax measures that hit people in pockets differently have a telling tale on who votes for it and why. So, if you look at a county tax measure or a city tax measure, you can tell liberals versus conservatives more so than on candidates, because candidates are moved by a lot of social platforms that are different than finances.
Yeah, but
that's pretty deep.
That was pretty deep for Sean Wilson. That was very deep. But you know what? I also feel like we're seeing in Alameda County, we're seeing what we've seen nationally over the last 6 months. But you'll see it shift back again. I think it's just doing maybe a little bit of a correction. Steve's spoken for over a year about how liberal things had gotten for so long. And Steve talks a lot about defunding of police and things of that nature. So I think you're just seeing a little bit of a correction. And it's not, I don't know that it's a cultural or a paradigm shift of anything great. I just think that you're seeing a little bit of things correcting and people being fed up with things that are just crazy. I mean, shit, Oakland needs some change, and people are going to vote for change. So,
Steve, real quick,
I just want to make clear I did not advocate for defund the police. I advocated. I said that it maybe went too far in the pendulum going the other way. Yeah.
Did I say that? Did I say that you advocated for defund?
Well, I was talking about defunding the police. Like, no.
I'm sorry. Did I say that Steve wanted to defund the police? I'm sorry. Did I say that Steve wanted to defund the police?
Hey, Steve. Very similar to my question to Sean. If Taylor pulls this thing out, what does this mean for the Alameda County Democratic Party, who supported Pam Price, who endorsed Barbara Lee? We talked about the unions taking the L as well. This party is now taking it. It's going to potentially take 2 L's here as well, right? So what do you think it means for them in regards to any kind of philosophy change? Or do you think they're just so ingrained in regards to, their political ideology that they're not going to shift?
Well, yeah, we're going to see, I kind of feel like they had the change in there was all these new people, more moderate. And when they say moderate in Alameda County, I mean very left of center candidates that came in, including Melissa Hernandez from the director. She got elected. She was part of that group here to bring some kind of sanity to stop to the shenanigans and the screaming and the yelling that was going on in these central committee meetings. And so you're right. They backed Shane Tao, and then they backed Pamela Price twice. Twice they did. I don't know why they did it the second time. And now Barbara Lee. I think the Barbara Lee one, they will be like, we'll blame it to the old regime, kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely something to watch this group going forward, because it does seem like, except for the last month's meeting, that the Central Committee is back to being, respectful. And really, the problem was that they were not talking about their two jobs, and their two jobs or actually one job, is to get Democrats elected. Is really their only job. Yeah. And they were not doing that for a while. And now they're still not. Well, Democrats are winning, but not the ones that they pick. So it's kind of like what Sean was talking about the union. Sometimes it was right there, man. This is not a good idea, but they're just kind of like full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes, and then you get these bad situations here. But I think the Central Committee under Igor Tregub has promise. But we'll see still later. But that bug that you want to get on your mailer, I don't know if that's looking so hot anymore. They got to change those graphics or something. I don't know if I want that.
No, right? Man. Look,
we need to send Igor to the Sean Wilson training camp. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did you say that with a straight face that he's showing signs of promise? He couldn't even control the last meeting, man. He's sitting there like, come on, man. That dude is look, he's a nice guy and he's probably super smart, but that doesn't mean he can chair a meeting. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses. Like I said, I'm not going out to play basketball at my gym because I know I suck. I'm not doing it. So why are you going to chair a meeting that you can't control? You got guys yelling at you from the back. It's time to relinquish the baton. Pass it on, man. God, it's so I get so mad when people don't understand that they're good at some things and suck at other things and can't realize that the things they suck at, they shouldn't do. Don't do it. God, it's horrible. That meeting that you sent me last time was so embarrassing. I felt bad for the dude. I'm like, it was
pretty bad.
He's trying to get order in the court. It was horrible. I'd be embarrassed. If I walked in there and that shit went on and I'm getting an endorsement, I'm like, yeah, I'll pass you guys. Thank you. I'd rather get the endorsement from the other folks down the street.
I said he needs one of those like gavels, the really big gavels. He needs to come in so he can go like this when they're not.
Yeah. The other thing I think the party needs to start
thinking. He needs pepper spray.
What they need to start thinking about is you have people that are running for office in places other than Oakland and Berkeley who are hampered because they have to be such a far left candidate, that endorsement, and then how do you take that back to the citizens of Fremont or Union City or Dublin or Pleasanton or Livermore? You can't. And what's going to happen eventually, and I'm telling you this for sure, this is going to happen. It's going to take a while, maybe another decade. But there's a lot of people who are culturally conservative that are moving in, or already live in Fremont and in the Tri-Valley, culturally conservative, not like politically, but they will be, and they're going to lose. This is how your county starts getting light blue, starts getting purple, and starts looking a little bit red. Not now, but eventually. This is how you do it because you're not paying attention to the whole group, just to the loudest people in Oakland and in Berkeley. But I want to add, so we wrap this up. Let's go down the line around. Let's Lee Thomas to my right. Your thoughts, your overall.
Yeah, this guy right there.
What's your thoughts on the night?
My overall thoughts on the night is if Barbara Lee wins, she is who we thought she is. Barbara Lee. And if Lauren Taylor wins, I think you are looking at a new blueprint in Oakland in regards to how to get elected in Oakland, because he has now laid the groundwork and the framework to give the next candidates the kind of like the signature way of going of who they should who they should go after, how they should pitch their message. So I think that is what we're going to see tonight. Once again, if Barbara Lee wins, she is who we thought she was. She's Barbara Lee. And if Lauren wins, we now say he has laid out the framework for all other incoming candidates who can run for office in Oakland.
John Wilson, you got your closing thoughts? That's John Wilson on the bottom right.
That's me. Hey, first of all, Lee, thank you for joining us. Dan, thank you. Steve, thanks for setting this all up. This is actually pretty cool, man. My only closing thought is this. I thought this was going to happen. If it holds true, then I think Oakland, for the first time in a long time, is in the right direction. And who knows? It's going to take a lot of work, but I think, like I said before, Lauren Taylor is the guy that can come in here and do the work that it's going to need to take to get.
It's that I keep telling Sean he needs to get Starlink. I'm going to send him a Starlink for his birthday.
I think he's got
not
Xfinity.
freeze. Yeah, he does. But you see, he's frozen on the screen there. He needs Starlink. I'm going to send him one for his birthday. You know, his birthday's coming up.
Oh, I might have to get him a tri-tip.
So, Dan.
All right, I have two thoughts. I have a podcast thought, and then I have an Oakland election thought. So I'll start with the podcast thought. So it's interesting that Steve started East Bay Insiders TV, because I think part of the problem was in the studio, you got a little upset that I started controlling some of the equipment. And with this new East Bay Insiders TV, I can't zoom these windows, fancy windows you got. I can't control anything. So we're back to the dictator of East Bay Insider controlling everything. So I think you like that. And my closing thoughts on the election. I don't know. I was sitting here as you guys were talking. It's kind of interesting. I think of Brendan Grisham and some of the people that led or started this whole process way back when. And I look at the new appointed DA of Alameda County, and you got to give those guys a little pat on the back. They took on something pretty substantial, and they've made some substantial change. If Lauren ends up winning, I think it kind of all ties back to bringing what they did. And it's interesting to see how successful they were in doing all of that. So.
Yes. And so we should have a new episode of East Bay Insiders podcast soon, right? I think maybe end of this week. And
yeah, it'll be either end of this week or beginning of next week.
Yeah, we should have a new episode. We'll have more to digest from tonight. But as we finish it off, the headlines are Lauren Taylor's leading by just over 4% in first place votes. We don't know ranked choice tabulation, but he's at 48.96%, which is close to the threshold of 50 that you don't need ranked choice voting. It's a wrap.
He's getting there.
So that's an early. Then in District 2, Charlene Wong is way up. She's past the threshold. She's at 52%, leading that race, when she would replace the remaining Nikki Fortunato Bass, the remaining 2 years of her council seat. And Measure A, which is a 0.5% sales tax, would push up the sales tax in Oakland to 10.75%.
Welcome to San Leandro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is,
Kevin Jenkins is loving that one.
Yeah, 63%. We can pretty much call that one a victory, and that's about $20 million a year that would come into the coffers. I wish I could go to Oakland and add some sales tax, but they need to prove that I need to go through the tube and not get somebody's Tesla scratched up.
Now that you got all those fancy cars, well, congratulations on your new East Bay Insiders TV platform here. This is pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to see if I can get authorization from Tanya. You know, we were getting a couple pictures of Steve in his new studio. He's a baller back there. He's got all his lights back there and his camera and.
He's serious tonight. He's got the jacket on.
Yeah. So if anybody put makeup on tonight, I know who it was. It wasn't Lee and I.
I did a little powder. But East Bay Insider TV we'll be talking about this at the newsletter all week tomorrow. eastbayinsiders.substack.com. Subscribe today. You get the full scoop every single day at 6 a.m. And again, thank you, Lee Thomas, Dan the Man Mendoza, and Sean Wilson. I'm Steve Tavares. Thank you for watching. Thank you for voting. Ciao.
See ya.
See ya.